He missed my birthday because of a work trip. I found out he wasn't in Denver. He was 3 miles away at a lake house with his ex. I drove there, waited until they left the room, then replaced his luggage with a printout of every message he'd sent her while I was grieving my father's death. When he came home, the locks were changed, and my lawyer was waiting in his office chair. Hi, I don't know where to start. I've been through something that still makes my hands shake when I talk about it. I'm 32, live in Columbus, Ohio, and until recently, I thought I was in a stable, loving relationship. I'd been with Mark for 5 years. We met at a local bar, started talking about travel, and ended up closing the place down that night. He was smart, funny, and made me feel safe. This year has been hell. My dad passed away from pancreatic cancer in February. He fought hard, but the end came fast. I've been grieving ever since. Mark was there through the worst of it. Or so I thought. My birthday came around in mid-April. It was my first birthday without Dad. I didn't want to do anything big, just dinner at home with Mark. He knew how much it meant to me. He said he'd cook, we'd open a bottle of wine, and maybe watch one of my dad's favorite old movies. I was holding on to that idea just to get through the week. 2 days before my birthday, Mark came home and told me he had to fly to Denver for a last-minute work trip. He's in marketing, and he said there was some kind of corporate emergency. He apologized, said he was upset too, and promised we'd celebrate when he got back. I was sad, but I didn't argue. I told him to go. I even packed him a little snack bag for the flight. Like an idiot. The night of my birthday, I was alone in our apartment. I cried a little. I lit a candle for my dad. I made myself a microwave dinner. Then I poured a glass of wine and opened Instagram. That's when everything changed. I saw a photo of Mark's ex, Lisa. I never liked her, but I never said anything. She was around before me. Mark always said they ended things peacefully. I believed him. She posted a picture. She was at a lake house. The caption was, "Weekend getaway with my favorite person." The background looked familiar. I zoomed in and realized it was the lake house Mark's friend owned. Just 3 miles away. He had taken me there once. I clicked on her stories. There he was, laughing, holding a drink, his arm around her. No Denver. No work trip. I sat there frozen. My ears were ringing. I could feel my chest tightening. For a second, I thought I was going to throw up. I didn't call him. I didn't text. I just got up, got in my car, and drove. When I pulled up near the lake house, I parked a few houses down. I didn't want him to see me. I sat in my car for almost 30 minutes, watching the lights from their living room flicker through the blinds. They were dancing. He was spinning her around in the kitchen. I had never felt rage like that before. And then it hit me, I had those messages. Weeks before, I had found something odd. I was using Mark's laptop to check my email because mine was updating. His Facebook was open. I saw a few chats with Lisa in the recent list. Curiosity took over. I clicked. They had been messaging for months. Right around when my dad was in the hospital, they were flirting. He told her he missed her. Said I was distracted with family stuff. That he felt trapped. That he wanted one last weekend, like old times. I took screenshots of everything. Printed every single one. I didn't know why. Part of me hoped I wouldn't need them. That it was a stupid mistake. That I'd imagined it all. But now I knew. When they left the living room to go upstairs, I saw them walk hand in hand. I walked up to the house. The back door was unlocked. I slipped inside. It felt like a dream. I went straight to the foyer. His duffel bag was there, right next to the coat rack. I unzipped it, dumped everything out on the floor. Then I filled it with every single printed message. Hundreds of pages. I stacked them neatly. On the very top, I put a photo of my dad, the one Mark took at the hospital. Then I left. I drove back to our apartment, changed the locks, took all of Mark's stuff, what was left, and put it in boxes in the garage. Then I called my lawyer. I had met with her before about estate stuff for my dad. I told her everything. She told me what I needed to do. That Monday morning, Mark came back. He rang the bell, knocked, called, left voicemails. I didn't answer. He eventually drove to his office. That's where he found my lawyer sitting in his chair, waiting with papers. Not divorce papers. Not yet. But everything else. Eviction notice. My name off our joint accounts. His name removed from the lease. And the message was clear, I knew. The silence that followed was loud. Mark didn't call again that night. I think he finally understood that I knew everything. The next day, I got a call from a mutual friend, Rachel. She said, "Hey, are you okay? Mark's blowing up the group chat. Says you went crazy, changed the locks, had him served." I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it was so typical. He couldn't own what he did, so he painted me as the villain. I didn't explain myself to her. I just said, he lied to me. He was with Lisa on my birthday. While I was grieving my dad, there was a long pause. Then she said, "Oh my God." Turns out, Mark had been telling people I'd been emotionally distant since my dad died and that I was pushing him away. He played the victim for months. I was busy planning hospice care, arranging funeral details, breaking down in the shower every morning. And he was laying the groundwork to cheat. 2 days later, Lisa showed up at my door. I didn't open it. She knocked for a while, then slid an envelope under the door. Inside was a note. "I didn't know he was still with you. I thought you two broke up months ago. I'm sorry." She tagged him in a post 3 weeks ago. I was in the photo. We were at a fundraiser. She had to know. A few more days passed. Then Mark showed up again. This time, he waited outside. I watched him from my upstairs window. He just stood there. Finally, he yelled, "Jenna, please talk to me." I didn't move. Then he said it. Loud enough for the neighbors to hear. "You were grieving your dad more than you loved me." That's when something inside me snapped. I opened the window and said, "You think you're the victim? You lied, Mark. You cheated. You threw away everything because I wasn't giving you enough attention while my father was dying." He shouted back, "You shut me out. You were cold. I needed someone." I said, "So you needed to have sex with your ex 3 miles away while I lit a candle for my dead father?" He didn't have a reply. Just looked down, shook his head, and walked back to his car. I thought that was the end. But it wasn't. A week passed. I was starting to feel a little more like myself. Still heartbroken, still furious, but at least I could breathe again without crying. Then Rachel texted me again. "Jenna, you need to see this." She sent me a screenshot of Lisa's Instagram story. It was a picture of a sonogram. The caption said, "Didn't expect this, but here we are." I felt my whole body freeze. I clicked into Lisa's profile. She had gone private. But the damage was done. Mark was tagged. It didn't take a genius to do the math. That weekend, my birthday, the work trip, I felt sick. I didn't call him. I didn't message her. I just sat on the floor, knees to my chest, while my mind raced. I had already been betrayed, lied to, humiliated. But this was worse. He had made a baby with her. While I was mourning the loss of the most important man in my life, he was creating a new one with the woman he promised was just a friend from the past. I was still staring at the wall when there was a knock at the door. It was his mother. I hadn't seen her since the funeral. She looked tired. "Ashamed," she said. "Can I come in?" I didn't answer right away, but I stepped aside. She sat at the kitchen table and said, "I don't know what my son told you, but I need you to hear it from me. He's been lying to everyone." Apparently, Lisa had reached out to her a few days before. And not just about the pregnancy. Lisa was threatening to tell his company about some shady business expenses he'd used to fund their little getaway. Plane tickets, hotel upgrades, gifts, all charged under client codes. She had screenshots. Receipts. She wanted him to do the right thing and leave me and start a life with her. He panicked and told her she was crazy, ghosted her, tried to get ahead of it by painting her as unstable. I realized something in that moment. This wasn't just about cheating. It was a pattern. Mark used people, lied easily, always found a way to spin the story to make himself look like the one who had been wronged. I asked his mom, did he do this before? To anyone else? She looked down. Yes. His college girlfriend. Even a woman at his last job. I always thought he'd grow out of it. I laughed, dry and bitter. Well, he didn't. She didn't defend him. She didn't ask me to forgive him. She just said, I'm sorry, Jenna. I really loved you. Then she left. I sat alone again. Only this time, the anger had turned into something colder, sharper. It was no longer about heartbreak. It was about making sure he finally faced consequences. I gave myself one more night to cry. Then I got to work. I wasn't going to let Mark walk away from this like he always did. First, I met with my lawyer again. I told her everything his mom had said about the business expenses. She said, if this is true, his company will care more than you think. I knew someone in HR through a mutual contact. I didn't send an anonymous tip. I sent the whole folder, screenshots, receipts, even the sonogram post. I didn't have to say much. Just enough for them to connect the dots. That same week, Mark lost his job. Turns out, this wasn't the first red flag on his file. They had been watching him for a while. My evidence tipped the scale. Then came the fallout with Lisa. I guess she thought getting pregnant would force him into something real. It didn't. He blocked her, denied the baby was his, even told people she tricked him. She messaged me not to apologize this time, but to scream at me for ruining her life. I told her the truth. He was never going to choose you. Just like he never really chose me. I thought it was over after that. Then the final twist hit. Mark showed up at my apartment one last time. Not to beg, not to fight. He had nowhere else to go. He had moved in with a friend who kicked him out after hearing everything. His credit cards were maxed. Job gone. No savings. Lisa wanted nothing to do with him after he refused to help with the pregnancy. Even his mom stopped returning his calls. He stood there in the hallway, holding that same duffel bag I had filled with the messages. He said, I lost everything. I looked him dead in the eye and said, no. You threw it away. He tried to walk past me, into the apartment. I stepped in front of the door. Not anymore, I said. And I shut it. That was the last time I saw him. 6 months later, I'm still in the same apartment, but everything feels different now. I got a promotion at work. Started therapy. Reconnected with friends I had pulled away from during the worst of it. It still hurts sometimes. Not just what he did, but that I let myself believe he was someone he wasn't for 5 whole years. I'm not perfect either. I let my grief swallow me. I missed red flags. I stayed quiet when I should have asked questions. I thought love meant forgiving everything, even when it broke me. But now I know better. And I'm never going back.